Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and let's talk about things holding their value. Kind of the genesis for this video had to do with this thing right here. It's a Hercules drill. Not anything exciting, sells new for about $95 at Harbor Freight, full price. Comes with a battery, not a big one, 2 amp hour, comes with a charger, marginal reviews. But anyway, this was sitting in a pawn shop that I sometimes come to town and stop by, and they wanted, right there, as you can see here, they wanted 45 bucks for this thing. And I thought, that's way too much. That's half price. I'm sure you can get these things on sale. I don't need one. So I offered him 25 bucks. No, they didn't take it. Anyway, weeks later, I got it down to 30, but that wasn't, that's the lowest they'd go. Anyway, weeks after that, it just sat there. Nobody wanted it. I got it for 20 bucks. $20, unopened, Hercules drill here. This is a, not the hammer drill. The hammer drill one costs more and has better reviews, but this is just the regular old one. I was kind of curious, and one of the reasons I was interested is because I already jumped into the Hercules battery system with this heat gun that I picked up at a pawn shop, and it came with a charger and a 2.5 amp hour battery, but Hercules also has a few other tools that I'm kind of wondering about, and partially because Milwaukee, at least new, is wildly expensive. This driver here, you can get it on sale right now for 150 bucks at Home Depot. This is the 2953. Well, here's two of them, 30 bucks a piece. Of course, there were a lot of junk drills, Milwaukee odds and ends, battery platforms, whether M12 or M18, also 30 bucks a piece. There really didn't seem to be any difference at the stores. I don't think the people who were working there really knew. They just looked online. Maybe they looked up the number and go to eBay like they usually do and discovered that these don't sell on the secondary market for very much. Or maybe they couldn't find them. That was the other thing, because it's the newer design. So there's that. Anyway, so when I got into the Hercules side, I thought, maybe there's some other Hercules tools. Turns out there are some I'm kind of keeping my eye out for. Way cheaper than the new Milwaukee, or that I can't find used. And I've also discovered some more used Milwaukee inexpensive, like here's a heat gun. I think this was 15 bucks for a heat gun. Does it work? Yeah, works great. Does have somebody's initials ground into it, and turns out, I always ask, were these stolen or something? And I was assured that they weren't. And in fact, a lot of people are getting out of the trades or selling their stuff, or they pawn it to try to, pay some bills, and then they end up losing it. So, there are problems with this. Here's another example. This is a Husky 65-piece quarter 3/8 SAE metric sockets and nut drivers. And this thing here, I looked at it and thought, oh, I've seen enough of these. They're always missing parts and they're trashed. In fact, the case is all beat up. Looks like it's ridden around on a pickup, which is exactly where this thing's going to go. And it turns out this thing is brand new on the inside. I don't think anything's been used. Nothing's out of place. Every one of these sockets, nice and shiny, lifetime warranty. I also thought maybe I'd pull all these out and fill it with Snap-on, but I don't know if I'll do that. Anyway, $10. They get these, people buy them, they throw them in cars like I do, but it just does not hold value. So I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know how to read the tool market, but there's a lot of stuff for sale, and people aren't trying, or the shops, at least in my area, are not trying to get very much for it. They're just turning it over, moving it along. So there's that. So I've noticed with a lot of the Harbor Freight, I can get it for not much money. They are not interested in trying to, high grade it like they are with anything that says Snap-on or Mac or Matco. Sometimes those are off the charts, or sometimes they're not. I mean, if you think about it, I was thinking about building a Snap-on EDC kit, so I found this guy. And so I had to spring 15 bucks for this thing. It's in pretty good shape. But, compared to an entire socket set, just because this says Snap-on, I don't even know who makes it. There's no name on it. Spring-loaded, looks like a lot of stainless steel. But there's just a ton of stuff out there. It might be the economy. Maybe people are changing professions. Maybe there just isn't the work anymore. I don't know. Usually going into spring, there's a lot of projects. Construction kicks up. You start to see a lot more of the stuff being sold. It's just not available. But I'm seeing tons of it. Tell me what's going on in your area. And if you've gotten any great deals, or if people are trying to squeeze every penny out of these things. Batteries still seem to be expensive. In fact, retail price at pawn shops. But the tools, I'm not seeing that. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on both the Hercules side, the Milwaukee side, heck, even the Husky side. And with that, Doc out.